No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Happy Monday, Bronco Nation. Welcome on into Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're coming to you from the Western Collective Studios. Hope you had some Horseshoe Golden Ales or Orange Chaos Seltzers to enjoy a fun weekend being a Boise State fan. Here to help me break it all down and discuss it is the one and only Mike Prater. And Mike, for some reason, there's already 192 people waiting to hear what we have to say today.
There's nothing else to do on a Monday, so bring it on. Let's get after it today. I know we're going to talk a little football, a little basketball. We can talk about the past. We can talk about the present, the future. We got all kinds of things to get after today.
Yeah, excited to have Mike with us for 45 minutes or so, and then Andy Rowe, our title sponsor, is going to jump on for a few minutes. And I am excited to introduce the new member of the Bronco Nation News team today as well. He is going to join us later in the show. His name is Nathan Carroll. His first piece is up on BroncoNationNews.com, and I've got numerous numbers, Mike, whether you've had a chance to look it over or not. I've already pulled numerous things that I'm going to bring up during our discussion today about some of the numbers. Nathan works for Pro Football Focus, has been writing for Bronco Country 247 for a while now, and I think we found a diamond in the rough, Mike Prater, just an underutilized, underknown, uber-talented guy that I think is going to be a big addition a couple times a week to the team here at BNN in terms of looking at this from the numbers and the analytics and a lot of that kind of just minutia stuff that I don't like to dig too deep into because it takes too much time and effort, and he does a good job at it. So he's going to join us today to kind of introduce himself to Bronco Nation about 9:45 or so as well, and looking forward to that. But excited for that, and you can read his first piece up now at BroncoNationNews.com. The Great, the Good, and the Ugly, examining the good, the great, the good, and the ugly from the game against San Jose State. And unique game, Mike. And yeah, we will get to basketball a little bit later in the show. Huge win over Clemson for them yesterday. And obviously after dropping the San Francisco game, a massive game that they needed. So we'll get to the basketball talk, but let's start with football. San Jose Saturday night, couldn't have started out worse. Down 14-0. Then the fumbled kick return, another special teams blunder, one of a couple in that game. And they're about to be down 21-0. and Shayla Depot sniffs out the, man, we can get to this, but San Jose State just got really cute in this game. Couple opportunities to really move the chains, put this game away, and they got super cute on that one. Boise State makes the tackle, comes down and scores, and it ends up being a new game. And it happened later where San Jose State had a 3rd and short and tried some trick play, reverse thing, and it fumbled, and Boise State got it back. So it looked there for a while, very, very scary, Mike Prater, early in the second quarter, down 14-0, and like I said, about to be 21-0, but Boise State storms back, ends the game on a 42-7 run, wins the game, covers the spread. And if you just looked at the final score, it looks like a pretty nice, impressive win for Boise State.
Yeah, and that 42-7 run is just amazing. And when it was happening, Boise State was turning the momentum, but you didn't realize it was going to be that dominant. And you look back at that, it was kind of scary right off the bat. But, Boise State, you got to take risks to beat Boise State. There's a risk reward, especially when you're, not that good of a team. They came out with a puncher's chance, and it worked for a while. It's kind of like Mike Tyson winning round 1 and Mike Tyson maybe winning round 2. And then all of a sudden the real talent comes together and takes care of business. And that's what Boise State did. So, it was kind of cool to see San Jose State with the gutsy effort. I didn't hate the trick plays. They didn't work. They're not very good at it like Boise State or maybe some other teams are, but they had to take those kinds of chances. And at the end of the day, 42-7 is such a dominant run. And I can't wait to read Nathan's stuff and dive into the numbers and see kind of what the analytics say about it. But, that was a very, very dominating performance. It's going to help Boise State down the road. I think that kind of win going into Laramie, which shouldn't be a problem, but you can take care of business, big confidence boost for this football team.
Well, I'll give you one on the offense that came from Nathan's story at BroncoNationNews.com. So that first drive, Boise State went 3 and out, Mike Prater. Right after that, the next 7 drives, well, let's put it this way. Boise State finished 3 and out and then still finished the game, finished the first drive 3 and out, and then finished the game with 458 yards of offense. That means on the next 7 drives, I guess the rest of the game, 92.6% of the yards Boise State could have gotten, they got, I guess, from that point on. So you had the 3 and out, and then you get 92.6% of possible yards the rest of the game. The offensive efficiency got going, and now according to SP Plus, it's an advanced metric that adjusts for tempo and the opponent you're playing. Boise State now the number 9 offense in the country overall, not just in terms of yards or points, but putting it all together, a top 10 offense. And Mike Prater, the highest Boise State is ranked in the SP Plus since Kellen Moore was on campus. Right now is the best offense Boise State has had since Kellen Moore was here. We look at all the analytics and dive into it. And we talked about it. Ashton Genty did his thing, 3 touchdowns, but certainly Maddox Madsen bouncing back 22 for 30, 286 yards. He had 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. Yeah, after that first 3 and out, this offense really got going.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed, and those drives were so sustainable. I think they averaged about 10 yards or 10 plays a drive. So it's not like they had these long, methodical 20-play drives or 15-play drives, but it's not like they were doing that explosive stuff that Dirk Cutter and Spencer Danielson like with 3 or 4 plays or the 3 and outs. So I just thought it was really smart, really efficient offense, taking care of business. We can beat it up a little bit here and there, but how much do you want to beat up a football team that finished 42-7? So Genty was a stud. Madsen was a stud. The defense flying around and some guys on defense were just really, really fun to watch on Saturday. So this was a pretty cool game. This was a big test. They passed it, and it's time to go on to Wyoming and Oregon State and see what happens after that. But I like the look of this offense right now. I think it's very, very efficient and taking care of some business.
Did not like to see Tyler Kyneth go down with an injury along the offensive line. Another starter who's already a reserve coming in and going down. It does sound like Roger Carrion is getting closer, though, Mike Prater. So I don't know if that'll be this week or next week, but Roger Carrion, it sounds like, is getting closer, which certainly will help. But seeing just yet another offensive line injury, I mean, that's the 5th guy, I guess, that's played significant snaps this year to go down with an offensive line, an injury along the offensive line. So I don't like to see that at all.
No, that was terrible. And the offensive line rotation, because they had the Jasons, I mean, I saw all kinds of movement with this offensive line, so they're patching and taking care of business. The good news is, the left side of that offensive line, knock on wood, is intact and doing really nice things. And Boise State, if I had one nitpick, and I think we're going to nitpick a few things, it seems like they still like to run to the right side a little bit. I don't know why you wouldn't lean a little bit more on the left side of that offensive line where the 2 dependable starters are right there, but I think they're doing a great job. And again, that's nitpicking, especially with an offensive line that's Well, we thought going into the season they might have 8 good offensive linemen. Well, they're playing offensive lineman number 8, number 9, number 10 right now. It's getting to the point where it's very, very serious. Can they hold on for these next 2, 3, 4 games with this offensive line? Getting Carry-On back would certainly be a massive addition. So that offensive line, Tim Keene's doing a great job putting that offensive line together.
Yeah, we did see Maddox Madsen get sacked twice, though, in this game. That hasn't happened very often lately.
No, and one of them was early. One of them was was that the first drive? Maybe it was even the first drive. So, yeah, it was definitely early. Then they kind of cleaned it up after that, especially after some of those O-line injuries.
But a lot to like on the offense. And, again, some things not to like, some things to like. One of the things that Nathan pointed out was the run defense for Boise State. We talked about, Marco Notriani having to come in here, and I think he deserves some credit. You had no Alexander Tubner, as we expected, Mike Prater, but Andrew Simpson, kind of a surprise absence from the game. And so you're looking at this game and you're without Alexander Tubner and Andrew Simpson. I mean, maybe your 2 best defenders, 2 of your top 3 or 4, certainly 2 all Mountain West caliber defenders. I mean, obviously Hassanin would be in there and some other, I mean, they're among your elite defenders on this team, and yet they're both out. And those first 2 drives, San Jose State just comes right down the field and scores. And you're thinking, yeah, maybe without these guys, like, it's just going to be too much. This offense is too good. And we'll get to the struggles of the pass defense here in a minute, but the rush defense was actually pretty good. And I kept wondering, and I said it numerous times in the press box, like, why would you ever run the ball if you're San Jose State at this point? I would just keep chucking it up deep. But with that said, Boise State's rush defense was pretty good. Adjusting for the sacks, they held San Jose State to just 50 rushing yards on 21 carries, combined 18 tackles for Notriani and Oladipo. And Nathan mentions in his piece 11 stops, and PFF considers a stop a tackle that leads to an offensive failure, or more simply, a play that makes you go, oh, that's a great tackle, not just a generic tackle. And they had 11 of those combined, but between those 2. So kudos to the run-stopping defense for Marco Notriani coming in, and he also wanted to shout out Braxton Feely. He finished with a team-high run defensive grade of 80.2. Only had 1 tackle, but did the dirty work and did some things, he said, on the inside to help Notriani and Oladipo make those tackles. So we'll get to the pass defense in a second, but the run defense did pretty good.
1.7 yards per carry. They carried the ball 22 times, threw it 50 times. So the balance is, you probably don't. Well, you're right. With this defense and the way that San Jose State offense was throwing the ball, I would have probably taken away 10 runs and thrown around 10 passes. It still wouldn't have made a difference. Boise State was going to take care of business. I loved McCoy. I love Oladipo. I love Notriani. It's cool. It sounds like we have to love Braxton Feely, who did it quietly. And I thought that those guys were good. You're right. We're going to talk about this pass defense, but I thought maybe outside of 1 or 2 plays, I thought Amarian McCoy was physical. He was active. He was all over the place. Oladipo is just emerging as one of the most dominant threats. It was really cool to see Notriani running around out there being more active than he has been all season. The Andrew Simpson thing kind of makes me curious. They didn't announce him at all during the pregame when they announced the outs. And about halfway through that first half, you see Andrew Simpson wandering around on the sidelines. I had to rewind the TV a little bit and go, wait, that's Andrew Simpson. He wasn't on the inactive list, and I'm not sure why. That was a big hit. That's a great mystery, and I'm not sure what's going on there with him, but Boise State and everybody else stepped up. What a great job by this defense, except for the pass defense. And I'm not sure I'm blaming the players on this one. Let's talk about scheme when we get to that point, BJ.
Well, we can get there right now. And first of all, yeah, I think Andrew Simpson, I think that's a worthy question for Spencer Danielson today, and not sure how specific he'll get, but I think he'll at least tell us, yeah, it was an injury, or yeah, it was something, he's banged up, whatever. And so I do think that's a worthy question
yes.
that we can ask.
Yes.
But Boise State pass defense now drops to 126th in the country, giving up an average of 267 passing yards per game after San Jose State has a big-time game passing for well over 450 yards. I think the number was 466 passing yards against this defense. And it felt like Mike Prater, every time they just threw up a jump ball, San Jose State's guy was going up and getting it. And according to the numbers in Nathan's story, 8 of 11 on contested balls, basically jump balls where either guy had a chance. 8 of 11 went for completed passes to San Jose State. And he said that kind of a typical number is about 40% of those for the offense, and it was 73% in this game. And to me, Mike, it just seems like I don't know if guys are trying to intercept it or what, but it'd be so easy to just turn around and knock the ball out with your hand or get a hand up. And it just seems like every time the San Jose State guy is, and in previous games too, we're just jumping up and just straight, I'm going to say letting the guy catch it, but it just seemed like the technique certainly is something that for us non-football guys watching on TV in the press box, fans, whatever, it looks super easy. I'm sure there's more to it than we know about, but a lot of those jump balls, San Jose State went up and got them.
I'm going to do something really stupid here, and I'm good at being stupid after watching some NFL yesterday and watching NFL corners. And to me, and again, I'm not a big X's and O's guy. I've never proclaimed to be a big X's and O's guy. I need Monday press conferences to explain what I saw on Saturday. But looking at the NFL, when the cornerbacks get in those 1-on-1 situations, 100% of the time they turn around and play the ball. 100%. Now, Boise State guys are not doing that. I have two issues with Boise State's pass defense. One, the soft coverage right at the line of scrimmage. They're so far back. I'm not sitting there saying you have to play press coverage all the time or even some of the time, but there are certain situations where I need to see press coverage, and I think Boise State's guys right from the start are way too soft there, and I don't understand the press coverage, so I need somebody, or the lack of it, so I need somebody to explain that. But you're right. They've never turned around and play the ball. It seems like wide receivers have a 1 to 2 yard gap on Boise State's cornerbacks, safeties, whatever, every single pass play, especially this past weekend. But the thing that drives me crazy is just turn around and play the ball. Go up and high point it. You can do some of the things that those wide receivers are doing, and it was just driving me crazy. It was probably driving you crazy. I know it was driving fans crazy, and hopefully it was driving Boise State's coaches crazy. So turn around and make a play on the ball. That seems like a fundamental issue with football, and I didn't see Boise State doing that an awful lot on Saturday.
There was even one play, I remember, I think it was McCoy, where there was another DB pretty close and saw the play happening and easily could have yelled like ball, or turn around or something. And he just never looked. And then they get an easy catch. And it's been different things on every play. Let's see. Josiah agrees with you 100%. They were playing prevent defense all game, way too conservative. Let's see. There's folks commenting on Demario Warren. We don't coach ball skills. I mean, of course, that's not true, guys. They're not maybe doing them, but Nate says our DBs need to work on the ball skills.
Yes.
And if you do want the numbers, by the way, again, pulling from Nathan's story here, you can go and read it. But the numbers, Mike, were Devon Banks gave up 9 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown. Marion McCoy gave up 7 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. And Jeremiah Irby gave up 6 catches for 100 yards. So all 3 of those guys got burnt, pretty evenly. Minimum of 6 completed passes on all 3 of those guys, whether it be Banks, McCoy, or Irby. Banks did kind of redeem himself a little bit with the pick 6 there later in the game. I mean, they're already up by 2 touchdowns at that point. It was a big touchdown to some, but then he went, kind of taunting, celebrating with some fans and got a penalty after that. But I mean, that was a, pick 6. You'll take it. It counts. But obviously for a good majority of the game, the pass defense continues to be an issue. Somebody on here, see, Banks runs his mouth so much it was infuriating. I will say this, like the very first fall camp practice, I saw Banks getting into it with Prince Strawn. I mean, that is kind of Banks's game to talk a little trash, and I think he's played for the most part okay this season. But obviously, and pick 6 yesterday, it is what it is. Seth wants to talk about Ty Benefield. What can we talk about number 0 and what the heck all the preseason hype was rooted in? I mean, I thought he had a decent game yesterday. He had an interception, and he also had a huge, maybe game-changing forced fumble. Where again, we're talking about San Jose State getting cute. I'm not sure what they're doing. 4th and 2, great play call. The quarterback has the first down. Go down. And he can, and he didn't even try to juke him or anything. He just ran straight into Ty Benefield. Ty Benefield lowers his helmet, pops the ball out. Jaden Virgin Morgan recovers it, and Boise State scores. Believe that might have been the 36-yard touchdown from Genty. I forget, but that might have been the Matt Lauder one, I think, to tie the game right before half. And then the other cute fumble was the one that Genty scored on. But either way, I thought that was a massive play. So I don't know the pass coverage numbers on Benefield. I know he was, for a good chunk of the game, having to try to guard Nick Nash. But overall, I didn't think, Benefield's not the first guy I think of as being the problem from Saturday's game.
When you threw out those stats from Nathan, I'm a little disappointed to hear what McCoy's numbers were, because I thought he was pretty aggressive and pretty physical and very active. Yeah, he had a couple of hiccups here and there, and maybe that's why his grade was not so good. Benefield had some bonehead plays as well and some hiccups and some. But I thought for the most part with you, I thought he was pretty active and a pretty good football player. Maybe just a little bit too inconsistent for me, so kind of shore that up. But I think Ty Benefield is a positive with this defense. I'll go ahead and say it on a grumpy Monday morning, but Devon Banks is not good enough to run his mouth. And I know he had the pick six, but I'm just not a big fan of this guy. He plays soft to me, and I have to be careful with this words, but it almost seems like he's got this style of play where it's almost like a lack of sense of urgency, that he's always kind of one step behind, and he's kind of got this vibe where he's kind of a little bit slower and a step behind. I don't think Devon Banks is good. And you're right. I think we were there in fall camp when we saw that, trash talking exchange with Prince Strawn, and that's definitely his game. But come on, Devon Banks, you're not good enough to have that game.
And I will push back a little on that, Prater. I don't think he's, I would say I don't think he's not having an all Mountain West type season by no means. But I'm not sure he's the having a horrible season either. It just, all these DBs are just having rough years stat wise. And again, we're not in these meetings. We don't know if this comes back 100% to coaching. Are guys in the wrong place? I mean, I remember there was a time we wanted to get on somebody, and Brian Harston, I forget, at one point, like, told me and Jay and a couple of guys and kind of like talked to us privately and was like, just so you guys know, like, this is what happened. This route was missed. Like, you're getting mad at the wrong guy completely about this. And so coaches aren't going to come out and call people out, whatever. But again, is it all Banks? Is Banks supposed to be in zone coverage and somebody else misses it and he's stuck guarding the guy? Like, there's more to it for me, at least personally, but I'm not here to say he's having an all Mountain West type season. I think all those guys certainly have underperformed to this point. But if you look at it right now, I mean, Irby and Banks are your starting corners next year too.
Yeah, well, Irby's, again, more inconsistency issues there, and maybe Banks can grow. Banks, the way he plays kind of bugs me. The way he talks kind of bugs me. I'm not a big fan. You're right. And I don't want to leave the impression that I think he's horrible. I just, just kind of his style, the way he plays, the way he talks, it just kind of bugs me, and I want him to get better. And he was one of the last players to join this football team this summer. Him and Cooper Jones, the Utah State transfer, were the last two players to jump on this roster, and maybe he's got better days ahead. It's really hard to compare anything against San Jose State, a really good offense, certainly the best passing offense in the Mountain West and one of the best passing offenses. And that pass game is going to annihilate a lot of good DBs and cornerbacks. I get that, but that's why I thought McCoy had a pretty good game, even though he got beat up a little bit. Benefield very inconsistent. And I need to work on my Devon Banks. And Devon Banks, you need to work on yourself as well.
And again, I think both can be true. I think that they had a very rough game stopping the pass, and it's a trend that's continued for a good portion of the season. That can be true, but and a lot of the 50-50 balls they didn't go up and get, and it looks like it's a technique thing. I mean, all that can be true, yes. But also, like, there's multiple NFL wide receivers probably on San Jose State's roster. That Nick Nash, number 11, both are getting love on draft boards and stuff. Both those guys are, and you're talking about coming into the game, Mike, the number 5 passing offense in the nation. So they were all, I mean, the stats say that's a pretty good offense. So both can be true. Boise State didn't have a great game, but also, like, let's remember too that this was, maybe the best passing attack that Boise State's going to face all season.
I got good news for you, BJ. Wyoming has one of the worst passing attacks we're going to see all season. I think only Air Force is worse at the pass game than Wyoming right now in terms of touchdown production and yards. So, there's going to be different challenges, and I know we'll spend the rest of the week getting ready for that game. But this is one game. That was a tough one. Boise State survived. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Boise State, even though we're nitpicking a few things here, finished on that 42-7 run. And they certainly face a Wyoming offense that's not going to pass the ball anywhere near what San Jose State did. So it's time for the defensive backs to get better. And I think maybe over these next 2 or 3 or 4 games, they can and will get better.
Let's talk CFP and what this means here moving forward. We'll talk basketball as well. Western Collective, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer, both from Western Collective, and both give a portion of the proceeds back to the student athletes at Boise State via the Horseshoe Collective. So the Horseshoe Golden Ale and the Orange Chaos Seltzer, make sure you pick them up. Albertson Stadium, Extra Mile Arena, or, of course, the Western Collective Brewery there in Garden City. Our title sponsor, RoePaint.com. Andy Rowe's going to join us a little later in the show. ROEPaint.com. All your concrete coatings for your basement, your back patio, your garage, the interior, exterior painting projects. Perfect time now to get those interior projects done as the weather's cooling down. They've got some openings, so reach out to them, ROE Paint. Tyson Degenhart Show. Hope you enjoyed that episode last week. Idaho Central Credit Union presents the Tyson Degenhart Show. We'll have another one coming up. We're talking about maybe doing one down at the Cayman Islands if we have some time down there. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. You may think you have a great banking experience. Promise you, you'll enjoy it better if you make the switch to Idaho Central Credit Union. Saw Matt Bauscher sitting courtside yesterday. He was getting into it, and for good reason. We'll talk basketball here shortly, but Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, the number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley just again, and he's now part of the Boise State home team. So he's backing up his financial commitments to Boise State, to BNN, and he's ready to help you sell or buy your next home. Cade, Kelly, Sarah, the whole crew, they're ready. Again, online, BauscherRealEstate.com. And of course, Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. 13 locations around the state of Idaho. Check them out, shopridleys.com, and you can save up to 40% off at the checkout line downloading that Skip app. So whether it's Magic Valley, Treasure Valley, McCall, surrounding states even, check them out online, find that location near you, and just that great hometown grocery store feel and just a friendly environment when you walk into our friends at Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. All right, Mike. So any concern? I mean, the last couple of games, I know the final score, ended up being good in this game, but that Nevada game a little closer than people thought it would be. The San Jose game, the last couple of games here, somebody mentioned just kind of what's the reason for starting slow. I'm not sure that, it's been I don't know the exact numbers in terms of trends of starting slow. I think they've scored in almost first, right, in almost every game this season, or at least scored on the opening drive.
Yeah, they scored first on every opening possession this season except for this past weekend, and they have scored first in front of the other team every single time except for one game going into this past weekend. So, I'm not so sure that that's an accurate statement to make.
Okay, so the starting slow, not necessarily a true thing there, but the last couple of games haven't looked quote-unquote Boise State-like, I guess you can say, with some of the dominant wins earlier in the season against subpar competition. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, Boise State's outscored its opponent 93-48 in the first quarter and 145-71 in the second quarter. So the season-long trends are there. Yeah, you can put Nevada out there. You can put San Jose State out there a little bit, and things are tightening up. It's November football. Ashton Jennings getting beat up. The competition's a little fiery. Nevada came in here with a game plan. San Jose State came in with a game plan. Boise State overcomes that. But, again, I know that that's nitpicking. We're going to talk about the CFP here, right, BJ?
We are, but a couple of comments coming in that I did want to get to first, Mike, because you said you woke up grumpy. It looks like some of the fans did as well. I want to check sacks allowed. Boise State sacks allowed on the season, 9 sacks allowed in 10 games. That is number 6 in the country for fewest sacks. Let's just keep that first before I read this comment. 9 sacks allowed in 10 games for the Boise State offensive line. And Lar Jam says, our media will never ask coaches hard, blunt questions about our weak pass blocking.
Boise State, with 8 or 9 different offensive linemen they got going on. The sacks have been great. A lot of that has to do with Maddox. I think Maddox gets more credit for that than the offensive line because he's just really good taking care of the football. He plays clean football, even in the games where he struggles. So, the run blocking is great. I think the pass blocking is fine. I don't know where that's coming from. So maybe a couple plays here and a couple plays there, you can get frustrated. And I would imagine we've asked Dirk Cutter that, by the way. Those questions have come up, and Dirk Cutter's always going to come back and say most of Maddox Madsen's sacks. What has he had 9? I think probably 6 of those are on him. Maybe 3 of them are on Malachi in the limited time that he comes in. And let's say Madsen has 6 sacks. 3 of them where he's trying to tuck the ball and running, and he gets back to like maybe a -1 yard. None of Maddox's sacks have been devastating. I don't even remember one of them that was really just bone-crushing in terms of the timing or the distance.
Yeah.
I think they're mostly pretty simple little sacks and for a loss of 1 and 2 yards, and Boise State's offense is efficient enough to take care of that and overcome those issues.
Yeah, maybe he meant run blocking. I don't know, because you could maybe say that Genty hasn't gotten a lot of holes the last couple of games, but the pass blocking in my mind has been tremendous, given the guys that have been out and the lack of sacks that he's had. Josh Curran, not a fan of mine, apparently. Prater, watching BNN is cringe with BJ on it. I do like every show that he is not on, though, so he gets that very often, so I apologize, Josh. He says I don't even like BSU. Well, you know what, Josh? The one school I do like just helped you out. it just helped you out on Saturday. A huge win for Camp. Prater's Utes couldn't do it, so we took care of it for you, Prater.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as we transition to the college football playoff rankings, very curious to see what happens tomorrow night with BYU and whether or not the committee will drop them below Boise State.
Yeah, that'll be good. Not only BYU, but, will BYU be dropped below Boise State? Will Colorado jump Boise State? What's going to happen there? So, Boise State's still going to be on that 5 line when it comes to the seed. That's not a problem. Maybe number 4, but I think that would be temporary as long as Colorado keeps winning. They're going to pass everybody here. So, there might be some fun and there might be some intrigue to the new CFP rankings tomorrow night. Boise State could be on the 4 line, but I do think that's going to be temporary. Boise State's going to be a 5 seed as this thing plays out, but we'll give it another couple of weeks and see how it does indeed play out. But, yeah, I think it'll be interesting today. I'm looking for BYU, how much are they going to fall? And I'm looking at Colorado and how much are they going to jump? I think Tennessee and Georgia will kind of just flip-flop spots, and Georgia was 1 spot ahead of Boise State. So I expect Tennessee to still be ahead of Boise State. Georgia moves back into the bracket, and we'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, the BYU factor in front, the Colorado factor in back, early Monday morning CFP analysis. That's exactly how I see it going into tomorrow night.
So is Ole Miss out or Alabama out, or who drops out if Georgia's back in?
Potentially Tennessee, even though they're going to have 2 losses. They may take a look at that. That's going to be the great debate. No, Alabama firmly is in for me. I even saw some people putting Alabama, giving them a nice little bump. I don't know why, because they beat Mercer over this weekend, but their strength of schedule is they're going to be able to ride the strength of that strength of schedule just a little bit. Georgia's going to have that strength of schedule love. I think Boise State's probably going to stay ranked right around the 13 spot. And again, it'll come down to whether BYU falls behind them. If BYU falls behind them, I think Colorado probably jumps in front of them. And then, like I said, I just think Tennessee and Georgia probably flip spots.
I think that as we know, Mike Prater, this thing is made for 100% made for TV and made for discussions and made for whatever. I think
Yes.
there's a decent chance, at least in tomorrow's rankings, Boise State is the 4 seed. Just to kind of prove so they have another thing to talk about all week, how this works, and the Big 12 struggling, and Group of 5, they're the highest 4, and should they do it this way in the future? And because the SEC doesn't like the way that works, they don't like that. And I saw somebody say all it takes is Colorado with 2 losses or somebody else with 3 or whatever, and the Big 12 still getting a bye for the SEC to go, yeah, this thing needs to be completely redone in 2 years. So I certainly think for a talking point and just a discussion for the next week, I think Boise State, decent chance they are number 4, but as you said, they already probably know in their mind and have a plan that whichever team wins the Big 12 will be adding more quality wins to their schedule and probably bump back in front.
Absolutely. It's kind of like Georgia last week, dropping Georgia out. Ball Game and I on Idaho Sports Talk had a big debate about that. I thought that they would leave Georgia out, knowing that Georgia could easily play their way in, or a Tennessee loss would eliminate them and kind of justify what they're doing. But I think, to your point, do they make decisions based on entertainment factor of a TV show? No. But do they put intriguing things like that out there? Hey, let's go ahead and just bump Georgia out, and either they're going to lose and we don't have to worry about them, or they're going to win and we'll move them back in. No harm, no foul. Same deal for Boise State. I think there is a possibility they could end up on the 4 line in front of the Big 12 moving forward, or even tomorrow night for sure. And then, like I said, if Colorado keeps winning or the Big 12, we'll see how that plays out. But if Colorado keeps winning, and I know we're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy here a little bit, but the national media, the national pollsters, the national fans base, everybody likes Hunter and Sanders and Colorado. It's a great story. And if you put Colorado on one of those 4 lines and give them a first-round bye, the world's going to love that or hate that, and it's going to be polarizing. And here we go.
Hey, man, Colorado, they're on upset alert again this weekend.
Back at Kansas?
They are. Come on.
That was fun. That was fun. Going into BYU on a Saturday night, and that crowd is so jacked up, and BYU is a really good football team. That was an impressive victory. I watched as much of that as I possibly can, BJ, and yeah, my Utes couldn't get the job done. They're pathetic. Your Kansas Jayhawks are playing great football in November. They took care of business there. Let's see what they can do against primetime on Sunday or Saturday this weekend.
Yeah, and I think they probably would have had no crowd, but I think winning that way, they've won 2 in a row now against ranked teams, Iowa State and then BYU. So they are kind of the team that a lot of people thought they would be all season. I know they're still 4-6, but they are they're still playing for a bowl too. Like, they're not just playing out the strings here. If they win these last 2 games, they can get to a bowl game, which I think will have Kansas pretty motivated for this one.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens. And But yeah, tomorrow night's rankings will be very interesting. Okay, 2 final football topics I did want to mention. One is we didn't really talk about this during the game, but I think it's worthy of at least a 90-second conversation, is special teams. And again, the fake field goal, I give him credit for. I'm not really going to blast him for that. It didn't work out, but you're down 7-0. We haven't seen a lot of that this year, but Spencer Danielson's going to roll the dice. They said if we get the look, we saw it all week. We just thought we had to look, and it didn't work out. But they tried the fake field goal, didn't work. But another fumbled kick return. They're down 14-0, and they fumble a kick return that leads to almost a devastating score that puts you down 3 scores in that game. Got a little lucky on the opening kickoff of the second half, I believe it was, where the guy didn't catch the ball, and then it rolled out of bounds at the 2-yard line. Of course, San Jose State went 98 yards to score on that drive, so it didn't matter. But another game where special teams is a headline.
Yeah, a few issues here, a few issues there. I love the trick play, actually. I love the mentality. And if you practice that all week with your kids, and that shows up, that situation shows up on Saturday in a game day, and it's the perfect situation, you have to go for it. If you practice it all week with your kids and you don't go for it, all of a sudden your guys are, why did we even do that? It's like your parents taught you this, and this. And when you get into a situation, you don't do it. And all of a sudden the kids are like, why should I listen next time? Why should I love the mentality. I love the aggressive attitude. I could, frankly, it'd be nice, but at this point, I could care less about Jonah Dalmas, his record, or the fact that he's good. It's an attack mentality. And if you practice something Monday through Friday and it shows up on film on Saturday, you absolutely have to run it. And trick plays, we all know, there's no guarantee. There's a risk factor involved. So I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. If they'd have executed it, we would have all put it up on the wall of fame with the aggressive attacking mentality and the scheme. I thought it was a good call. The rest of the stuff, yeah, a few nitpicking things here and there, but I think we have to come to the issue that as long as it doesn't cost them a football game late in the season, in November and December, special teams are not going to be perfect. They should. We came into this season with high hopes because of Stacey Collins, but it's not working, and there's always a bugaboo or two in every single game with the special teams unit.
And I think that's a story for the offseason, whatever, but I mean, Stacey Collins didn't just forget how to coach special teams. There's something going on, whether it's the players, whatever. I mean, I'm not here trying to defend Stacey Collins or hold his water, but I think that he's going to prove over time here, if he sticks around, that they're going to have solid special teams units. They have everywhere he's ever gone. Just for whatever reason, it hasn't clicked this year, and he's getting a lot of criticism and things. I mean, it's deserved. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but I was walking back, leaving the interviews after the game on Saturday, and I was walking by the kind of table where all the players and coaches are grabbing their food to go to the bus for the team charter, and Stacey Collins was standing there. He just said, "Beej, in 30 years of coaching, I've never seen something like this. It's just every week something's going wrong or not happening. It's just one of those years, I guess." So I'm not ready to give up on Stacey Collins. I think it's, is coaching partly to blame? Sure, it has to be. I'm not taking all the blame away from him, but I think there's more going on. And I think over time, when he gets his scheme and his players and everything, it wouldn't shock me if they make a drastic improvement next year in special teams. All right, I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy real quick, but Snake River Pool and Spa, thespateam.com. Check them out. Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Again, whether it's a spa for the back patio, a sauna, a pool table for the game room, check them out. They got it all at thespateam.com. Lithia Ford of Boise, as that snow and rain and ice, and as the weather starts to turn bad, make sure you have an all-wheel drive from Lithia Ford of Boise, whether it's the four-wheel drive with the F-150, some of the bigger vehicles, the Escapes, the Expeditions, all that stuff. They've got you covered at Lithia Ford of Boise. And remember, they've got 6 NIL deals, student athletes rocking vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. So return the favor, support one of the biggest sponsors of Boise State Athletics, and make your next purchase of your car and truck at Lithia Ford of Boise. Had fun at Taco Bell last week. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Johnny and I were there last Thursday. TacoBellWorks.com. If you're looking for a job, they are hiring, and they have great promotional benefits, free food while you work. You get half your wages the next day after your shift. It's a great environment. Every freestanding Treasure Valley Taco Bell location has a little area and a table right when you walk in to sign up for a job. So just go into Taco Bell, sign up, or you can get more information online, TacoBellWorks.com. And again, the food is tremendous, and the Nicolason family, SON Management Group, are tremendous people, and they do a lot for the community. Return the favor if you're looking for a a new job, a new opportunity, I highly consider you think about Taco Bell and check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. All right, Mike, it certainly seems like Travis Hunter, at least on social media, has won the Heisman Trophy here. And it just seems like, he's any average play is meant to is all of a sudden looking great. Some of the stats, I'm not trying to speak negatively about Travis Hunter. He is an amazing player. He is doing things we haven't seen in terms of the playing both ways, and some of the things he's doing. I saw it was the first time in 25 years in the NFL or college that a player had 5 receptions, a rushing touchdown, and an interception in the same game. Like, this is not meant to be let's speak negative about Travis Hunter. I just don't know if the play on the field and the stats on the field equal some of the hype that he is getting to this point. And Ashton Jeanty, another solid game. Did have the 36-yarder, which was kind of the nice highlight reel, to get him on social media as well. But what do you make of the Heisman race? And it just seems like the big noon kickoff and Fox and a lot of these national people are just all in on Colorado and Prime and Travis Hunter here.
I don't understand the hate toward Travis Hunter, and I get it here in Boise. I get why they're doing it, but I'm with you, man. I love watching that guy play football, and I'm not going to bag on him, and nor have I all season. I go out of my way to try to watch this football team, especially when they're playing well. It's hard not to like them if they're not playing well, but they're playing great football right now, and Travis Hunter's playing great football. No issues there whatsoever. Now, if you want to sit here and talk about the hype machine, are they going to pick Spencer Danielson and Ashton Jeanty in Boise, Idaho, or are they going to pick primetime and a Big 12 team with the Travis Hunter in terms of the hype? Well, we've seen what Fox and Big Noon Kickoff and those guys do, and I think we're going to have another big hype weekend for Travis Hunter this coming weekend. So you should blame the hype machine. And again, guys, come on. You guys have been talking for 20 years or more, and we all know this. And when I say you guys, the fans, the boosters, the media, everybody, social media, regular media, the Heisman Trophy has become a popularity contest. And who's more popular than Deion Sanders or a Travis Hunter playing football for Deion Sanders? Over the weekend, it became a 2-person race, and that's really cool. I said last week in Idaho Sports Talk, and Johnny Ballgame and a few other listeners beat me up. I said, Travis Hunter, if this award, and I said this last week, if this award was to be given away right now, Travis Hunter would win it. No doubt about it. And that's even more so true today. If they gave it to Travis, if they had to announce it today, Travis Hunter would win it in a landslide. But Ashton Jeanty is clearly number 2. Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel have dropped off. Again, we'll see how this plays out. The Heisman is very flaky, very fluid. One weekend can change everything, but it's a 2-man race. And so you got God's gift to hype on one side and the greatest running back in college football this season on the other side. It's a wonderful 2-man race. And I'm not going to beat up Travis Hunter. I love watching him play football. I love watching Ashton Jeanty play football. And if Ashton Jeanty finishes second to Travis Hunter in the Heisman, dude, I got no problem with that whatsoever as we sit now. Well, let's hope it plays out and Ashton Jeanty plays great these next 2 weeks and maybe catches him, because I think he still can.
And as we remind folks, the odds to win the Heisman are not necessarily like a raw, straw poll of 100 Heisman voters. It has more to do with the money and how they're trying to protect themselves. And if they're getting a lot of bets on one guy, they're going to lower his odds to lessen the amount of risk they have in that person winning the Heisman. With that said, Circa Sports has updated their Heisman Trophy odds this morning, and Travis Hunter is minus 400 to win the Heisman Trophy. Ashton Jeanty is second at plus 600, and then you have to go to Cam Ward at plus 1,200, Dylan Gabriel plus 2,000. But at least they're taking it. This means they're taking a ton of money on Travis Hunter. He's the guy, and they got to limit themselves. So if you want to bet Travis Hunter to win the Heisman right now, you have to risk $400 to win a profit of $100. Ashton Jeanty is second at plus 600 right now. So at least in the gambling odds, Travis Hunter is the heavy favorite right now.
And I think there's enough of a possibility, guys. When you gamble, and I'm a crappy gambler, that's why I stopped gambling in football. But if you're going to gamble, you're looking for the best value. And there is no value in Travis Hunter whatsoever. That goes back to what you just explained. If I'm getting plus 600 and a chance to drop down 100 and win a $600 bill, I think Ashton Jeanty is close enough, and crazy things could happen. And I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but let's say Travis Hunter gets hurt in the first game next weekend. The dude's playing 130 snaps. That's what he's living on. That's how he's built this reputation. And we all know that the risk reward of playing those many snaps. So let's say it does happen and Ashton Jeanty goes for 250 against Wyoming, and then he goes for 250 against Oregon State, and then he goes for 203 touchdowns in the Mountain West Championship game, of which they've already clinched a spot in. That's kind of the one thing around here. Boise State clinched a spot in the Mountain West Championship game over the weekend, and it's kind of like second fiddle around here because it's expected. So if Ashton Jeanty goes crazy over these next 3 weeks, I think there's a good enough bet, a good enough value, and I still think he's got one hell of a chance.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think that's going to be an interesting race. But again, he needs to continue to stay healthy and have big games and see what happens. But I wanted to get one thought from you real quick on basketball, Mike. We're going to have Andy Rowe join us in a couple minutes, and I will also hit on basketball with Nathan as well when he makes his BNN debut in a little bit. But the game yesterday at Extra Mile Arena, again, Boise State was like a 1-point favorite. It was pretty much a pick 'em. But they come in against a team ranked higher than them in a lot of the computer metrics in Clemson and pick up a really nice win, 84-71. And if not for that, 3 at the end by Clemson, you're talking about keeping them in the 60s and winning by 16. But overall, Tyson Degenhart, 20 points, 11 rebounds. Andrew Meadow, 18 points, 9 rebounds. And you get 21 points off your bench in a game against a top-level ACC team. Guys like Ugbo producing, guys like Buchanan. We saw Julian Bowie with a couple buckets. RJ Keene hit a huge 3 and continues to produce. Like, they're getting contributions from up and down the lineup. And I know folks were disappointed with the San Francisco loss, but you fast forward from last Monday to this Monday, Mike Prater, in terms of the feeling around this basketball team, 3-1, a favorable schedule here coming up, and now a nice win on their resume here moving forward.
2 things that really stood out for me, and I went there as a fan, sat in the stands with my ticket, and watched people cheer, and it was a really fun environment. It was kind of surreal to see an ACC team inside that building on a Sunday morning. Good crowd, though, good energy. 2 things that really stood out. Well, actually 3 things. One, Boise State, the way they played with their foot on their throat in the second half, and I thought they just dominated the second half and played really, really well. And I've always kind of had issues with Leon Rice and the aggressive play in the second half, and I thought they were spectacular. 2, the defense in terms of it, and maybe some of this was about Clemson, and you know me, I'm not the smartest basketball guy, but Clemson only shot about 36%, and I thought Boise State did a really nice job. Give Chase Hunter his due. He's the one good player, and every team's going to have one good player, and he went off in this game. You take him out of the game, which you can't, and you shouldn't, and you don't. But Boise State did a nice job defensively. And Andrew Meadow and his shooting. We've been told in the offseason, Tyson Degenhart sat in this studio just a few weeks ago before the season started and said, Andrew Meadow is maybe in his shot, might be the most improved part of this season. And I think he's proving that right now. And the way he's shooting with confidence and the way his teammates and what you reported over the weekend after the game, teammates want him to shoot. And then he's going out there and delivering. So Andrew Meadow shooting the ball like he did, that was really, really fun to watch.
Well, we're going to let you go and bring on Andy Rowe here, but I will bring him on for one joint thing here, Mike Prater. I got to say here, this may have been the tweet of the weekend. Andy Rowe in the middle of the game tweets out, "Can't get the game to play here down south. Twitter, blink once if everything will be fine. Blink twice if our secondary is getting roasted." And you see the first comment has four blinks right there. So, Andy, I always love your sense of humor on social media, man. Oh, you're muted, Andy. There you go.
Thank you, BJ. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Prater. Always enjoy your take on it. If Prater's this grumpy on Monday morning, imagine what Cutter's going to be like later.
That's funny. So, by the way, that's a pretty good tweet. I like that. That makes me laugh, but it wasn't as good as your one last week where I think something about I'm down in Mexico eating crickets. What the hell's going on up in Boise right now? So I thought you're 2 for 2, my friend. Nicely done.
Thank you. It's tough. You never know. Sometimes I can stream the games when I'm traveling, and sometimes I can't. So it was a little bit harrowing. But I did see a bunch of Ashton Jeanty exclamation point tweets coming out later. So then I was like, all right, everything's going to be okay. So having to watch a game through tweets and Gamecast is never fun. I always go back and watch the game, later on. But yeah, it's 2 crazy weeks, right? So apparently, when I leave the country, Broncos don't perform well. So I'm going to personally travel with the team this week and make sure that they're focused and they know that I'm there to watch them.
Yeah, he's Prater. He's on the sponsor trip. He gets to ride on the team plane, go to Wyoming. They're going to wine him and dine him this weekend.
What? You're taking the sponsors to Laramie? Who came up with
not me. No, not me. Boise State. He's
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Why is Boise State picking us sponsor weekend for Laramie, for crying out loud? Nobody wants to go to Laramie in November.
Hey, I'm a minor sponsor. I'm not on the Hawaii level list. I'm on the Laramie level list. No,
Hey.
I will say this, some of those teams we're not going to go play anymore. San Jose, I don't care if we never see another game in that stadium again. That's ridiculous. But Laramie has always been a bucket list. It's, everybody talks about it being a track game, but they've only beaten us once. So yeah, it could be a trap game. It is November. It is cold, especially the way the Broncos have been playing. But yeah.
I mean, to your credit, and I've always said this on the show and taking a beating, I love Laramie road trips. Laramie on a college football weekend is a really, really fun stop. A guy like you who does mezcal and crickets, you're going to have a great time in Laramie, and that's going to be really fun. It doesn't look like the weather is going to be that much of an issue, and you're right. Wyoming's only beaten Boise State once, but as we were reminded yesterday watching the NFL, the quarterback on the other side was a guy named Josh Allen. He's the only guy to beat Boise State out of the state of Wyoming, so I like Boise State's chances this weekend. I like your chances to have a good time, my friend.
And
thank you. I think we will.
Let me point out, too, that the BNN trip, we took him to San Diego. So we know what
Nice.
Thanks,
Private
Brad.
jet, too.
Conference, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you putting up with me. I'll listen to it.
Appreciate Mike Prater for jumping on, and appreciate him. We're going to have our man Nathan Carroll come on in a few minutes, a new part-time writer for BNN, but I wanted to get Andy Rowe's takes because he always has great ones and been following this team for a long time, and as our title sponsor, want to make sure we're giving Rowe Paint as much love as we can here. And I tell you guys all the time, there would be no Bronco Nation news without Rowe Painting. So let's make sure this time of year with the weather getting colder and stuff, let's keep your interior painting units full here, Andy. Let's any of those interior painting projects folks are sitting around trying to decide if they want to do or not. Now's the time, get them done. And you can check them out, roepaint.com. And Andy, I know you joke about it, but you've been critical of this secondary at times, of this defense at times, and certainly at times they had a tough one there against the pass against San Jose.
Yeah, I mean, what more can be said than what's already been said? The numbers speak for themselves, and we knew that was going to be probably the most challenging part of the game. Again, I've said it many times. I'm judging this team now based upon college football playoff, BCS, whatever you want to call it. And so they're finding ways to win. They won. I mean, I can remember one of the best BCS teams that we ever had. I think it was the first BCS year, and it was a morning game at San Jose. And yeah, we were in trouble. We were in a dogfight. So week to week, it's going to be tough. We struggled with Reno at home, but we figured that one out. We struggled with San Jose. I think some of the things you have to look at are just, the strength is in the struggle. They got to go through some of these things. And earlier in the season at that Oregon game, I remember watching and just thinking to myself, okay, well, I don't know much about this team. What are they going to do? How are they going to respond? And so getting to watch them respond is great. You end up with a pick six there before the game's over. That was nice to see. And yeah, obviously the final score didn't show what a struggle it was, but you never know how gritty, scrappy, you got to be challenged. And, some of those really good teams in 10 and 11 where the first stringers were out halfway through the third quarter, I thought was an issue. I thought it affected the 2010 team when they got into that long dogfight game that ultimately we lost at Reno. So I think it's good that the team's getting challenged, but yeah, the secondary, Prater said it earlier, the coaching, I just got to keep coming back to that. You don't see the corners turn into playing the ball. So there's some coaching. You can't tell me the athletes don't know that's part of the drill. What are they doing to get better on that? So, but they got the W.
Where are you, Andy Rowe, on the Travis Hunter hype, Ashton Genty, and the whole Heisman race?
Yeah, it's just that. It's just hype. I mean, Deion is gonna bring X amount of votes to that because of the national coverage of Deion and who he is. He's, he had that press conference where he's like, "Don't take your hate out on me," and it's like, we're not. We're just judging Travis, and he's not the Heisman. Does he deserve a trip to New York? I guess he deserves a trip to New York, but is he on the same par as Genty? Not even close. That's not a homer take. That's a statistical take. Somebody had a tweet about, the best cornerback in the country, the best wide receiver in the country, their numbers compared to Travis is like, so you play two ways. That's fantastic. That is impressive, but is that worthy of the Heisman Trophy? No. Now, if Colorado is number one, they're the team fighting everybody off for the number one spot, and they're national championship contenders and all this stuff. And Travis Hunter has big, impactful plays. Absolutely. But that's not the case. So to me, this is still Ashton's trophy. You know, the betting odds are going to go up and go down. National media is going to go up and go down. But ultimately, I thought Brett McMurphy, you know, he has a poll that he's always running. And I don't know how many people follow Brett McMurphy and from where they come from, but that to me was an interesting poll showing Genty at about 50% of the votes and Hunter at about 35%. And then I think Cam Ward and Milroe were split with the other few. So I still think still think Genty has a shot to actually win the trophy and bring the hardware home.
Well, I mean, even getting to New York would be a great accomplishment. But yeah, if he's able to pull it off somehow, a couple big games, you know, here, I wonder if they, you know, get up on some of these games, especially maybe, you know, Oregon State on Senior Day or something. I know it's maybe his last home game, but you wonder if there's a chance where you don't need to give him 30 carries again. I mean, 5 straight games now, I think, with 30-plus carries or close to it. I mean, it's starting to add up here. I know he'll get the extra week off before the playoff game, but I would think you want to try to keep him kind of fresh for the championship game as well. And I guess that has to do if Sire Gaines or Breezy Dubar are healthy and if there's anybody else behind him that can run. Because, I mean, you got to win these games. But certainly if you could win it in the next 2 weeks without having to give him 30 carries, that'd be nice. But then again, that could hurt some of the other things we're talking about, like the Heisman too.
Yeah, you want to win the games. That's priority number one. You got to focus on that. And it's a fine line in between the two. You don't want to get him hurt, especially if you're trying to make a playoff run. It's huge. But I think what it comes down to is, will he be able to slip that last tackle? You've seen it, you know, over the last 2 weeks. How many times did you see him on the verge of just busting loose? And that's where he rips off, you know, 40, 50, 70 yards in one shot, and he has those eye-popping numbers. But that's hard to do when they're putting 9 in the box. I don't care who you're playing, but that stat that was floating around social media over the weekend with how many rushes, his yards per carry or his total yards or whatever versus how many they're putting in the box to him. But again, that's where it comes to, if this team wants to help him win that individual award, the wide receivers and Maddox are going to have to be able to be tight. Maddox is still adequate, but there's still balls that either underthrown and they don't make it, or there was one that was underthrown. Had he led the receiver, it was to Cam, that was probably a touchdown.
I got to be honest, Andy, you know, people love when you come on, and we did a show about 2 weeks ago from Bauscher Real Estate with Matt Bauscher and Travis Hawks, and they were getting a lot of love, and we were talking about a show, and I think some sort of BNN sponsor show where you guys just get on there by yourself and talk ball could be extremely fun, because you guys are very knowledgeable and you do a tremendous job, and we always enjoy having you on, and you know your stuff. And the reason I like you is you're not afraid to be critical when necessary, even though you're a BSU sponsor. And if something's a spade, you call it a spade, but I think you're fair about it. And certainly I always enjoy having you on. And I guess final thing for you, just big picture, 2 games to go. Where are you just overall? Pushing towards a playoff, pushing towards hosting a Mountain West championship game. I heard that season ticket holders got the email about reserving seats for the championship game. So I guess they're at least starting that process now of hosting that if they can beat Wyoming. And I'd love to see them sell it out. I don't know if they can. That's traditionally been a problem when you lose all the corporate seats and season tickets and stuff. But overall, pushing forward, trying to make history, getting the playoff. Not sure what your thoughts are on if they'll get the bye or not in terms of tomorrow night's rankings, if they'll put them ahead of BYU, but just any big picture final thoughts from you, sir?
Yeah, the expectations would be 2 victories. I mean, I'm going to get to watch both of these in person. I'm looking forward to a cold night in Laramie. I think they should handle business there. And then I think it should be a really fun senior day after Thanksgiving, morning game. I mean, hopefully they're not sluggish. Last thing you want is the Beavers to surprise them, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think if they take care of business there, seniors have a lot of fun, beat a future conference mate. And then, now we're looking into conference championship game. Going into the postseason. As far as the rankings go, I think you or Prater just said it, but I think they are going to put Boise in there as the 4 seed just for good TV. And you know, remember in the BCS days when the first BCS ranking came out, Boise State was like number 2 and everybody flipped out, but that was when they used the computers and the strength of schedule ranking and all that. So I think they may have some controversial stuff going on. In the end, I don't think they'll give it to us, barring something major. I think they are going to leapfrog ACC and Big 12 teams ahead of us, and it is what it is. But, if that happens, I think that's the difference between a real chance at the postseason and just getting a postseason game. But, you know, we're here to watch. This is what we're talking about, is what is the postseason going to look like, instead of like, I can't believe this team is underperforming and they're on the verge of a potential first losing season in 25 years or something. So, I mean, Spencer's gotten the job done. They're going to keep getting the job done. Boise State is pointed in the right direction. And it's really fun to sit here and complain about how we struggled against Nevada and San Jose, but we're 9-1 now?
Exactly. Yeah. Fun times, no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
we're having fun on BNN because of you, Andy, and rowpaint.com. Go support the sponsors, folks. Rowpaint.com, ROEpaint.com. All your painting needs, those concrete coatings, interior, exterior, residential painting. And that's a thing to focus on right now with the weather kind of getting colder, is those interior painting projects. Let's focus on those. If you got any interior projects you need done, ROEpaint.com. Check them out. Free estimate. They'll come out and give you a look, give you an estimate, and they'll talk you through the process, and they can do the exterior touch-up of the siding or whatever you got, and obviously the commercial, industrial stuff as well. But that basement, those concrete coatings, you got that ugly slab down there, do what the Raines family did, transform it in most cases in one day with their world-famous concrete coatings. And Andy, we always appreciate it. You jumping on. We really appreciate your support of Bronco Nation News, and as the year, continues to gear up for basketball and have football going as well, it's a lot of fun here for these fans and everybody watching. And I know they want to thank you as well, because we couldn't do what we do without your support.
Absolutely. We love supporting the community. We love supporting the Broncos. And of course, we love being in and what you're doing here. Excited to hear from Nathan Carroll next here. So go Broncos.
Appreciate it. Thanks again, Andy. There he is, Andy Rowe, our title sponsor. We appreciate Andy for jumping on. And, we have a lot of great sponsors. They're all very supportive. Many of them you see on the screen behind me. I'm going to tell you about 3 more of them here in just a second. But, yes, Andy Rowe, rowpaint.com. Support them, guys. I know there's a lot of painters in town, a lot of options, but rowpaint.com really does back it up. And as you see, he gets to travel with the team to Laramie, so he's obviously supporting Boise State as well. So step it up and support Andy Rowe and company at rowpaint.com. Before we get to Nathan, I got a couple more sponsors I want to thank real quick. And again, our newest member of the team, Nathan Carroll, going to join us in just a minute. Transportation compliance service, transcompservice.com. If you want to get into the trucking industry, now's the perfect time. Check them out, transcompservice.com. And whether it's DOT, overweight, all the permits and things you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. It's a Meridian, our local Treasure Valley company, helping folks all over the world. Check them out at transcompservice.com. You need some new gear, Ashton Genty gear, now's the time. Look at that sweatshirt. Love that sweatshirt right there in the middle. They got the jerseys, the shirts. The Blue and Orange Store's got them, theblueandorangestore.com. You can order online from anywhere in the world, or if you're in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there next to Pro Image. And again, they got a couple racks right there in the front just dedicated to Ashton Genty NIL gear. So, folks, you want to put a little money back in Ashton Genty's pocket, you want to support one of the greatest players in the history of this school, you can do it at the Blue and Orange Store. And again, online at the Blue and Orange Store. We got a cool announcement with Jackson's coming on tomorrow's show about, I don't want to give it away, but stay tuned for tomorrow's show for a cool new NIL deal with Jackson's. But for now, Jackson's, 25 cents from every hot dog sold goes to support the Horseshoe Collective. And again, on a Monday, which unfortunately Ahmed did not get the sack in this game, but typically on a Monday, you get a 91-cent coffee or fountain drink. And on Tuesdays, I think we're going to get one of these against Wyoming as he gets healthy and continues to get out there. Breezy Dubar, when he scores a touchdown, you get the Breezy Bundle, a hot dog and a soda for $1 at Jackson's. We appreciate our sponsor, Jackson. Speaking of food, I saw Andrew Meadow walking out of the facility the other day with 2 Lean Feasts. Check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com, leanfeastmeridian.com. Lean Feast is supporting and feeding the football team. They're feeding the basketball team. Obviously, they got the NIL deals with Ashton, with Tyson Degenhart. So it's fresh. It's not frozen. It's all fresh, and it's all customizable. You choose by the weight how much of it you want, and it's good in the microwave. Well, it's good in the refrigerator for 5 days, and then you just put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and you're eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, you name it. It's perfect for folks on the go that go work in an office building or something, don't have time to make lunch. I love the keto options. They can take care of every diet for you, so check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com. And Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. I forgot to get the names ready, so we'll have to do this on tomorrow's show, but we had 8 voicemails, 8 post-game voicemails. Thank you to all of you that did a post-game voicemail for the football game on Saturday. You did it at speakpipe.com/BNN. We would love to continue to get those for post-games, for shows throughout the week, and we'll draw the name tomorrow for the gift card to the Blue and Orange Store, courtesy of Signature Roofing. And again, re-roofs, repairs, inspections, free estimates, they can do it for you. It's a locally owned roofing company, been around for 2+ decades. They did a tremendous job on the Raines family roof, and they can help you out as well. Again, check them out online at mysignatureroofing.com. All right. We kind of teased this, or we talked about it. We announced it earlier on the last night, I guess, on Twitter. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Bronco Nation News has added to the team here, and it's because of your guys' subscriptions and your guys' support that we're able to continue. And I'm always out there looking for more, talent and more people, quality people. I'm not just going to add somebody to add somebody. And if you notice, we have not added many writers at all in the 3 years I've had BNN because it just hasn't been the right fit. Haven't found kind of what I'm looking for. And I've been listening to this gentleman on his podcast talking Boise State basketball. He certainly knows what he's talking about. And we're going to bring on our man, Nathan Carroll. Welcome him officially to the Bronco Nation News team. Nathan, been fun getting to know you these last couple weeks and working through this. And I was glad we could get something done and super thankful and appreciative and welcome on board, sir.
Yeah, thanks, BJ. Thanks for the opportunity. Really looking forward to being a part of the BNN team. Really looking forward to, mostly be writing about Boise State football and the men's basketball team, but also being able to pop on the shows here and then to give some added insight. Obviously a big weekend this weekend. So got that first article out with the San Jose State game. And then later this week, expect to see something about the basketball team because they had a big weekend to say the least, but yeah, appreciate you bringing me on board, BJ.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this, and you do a tremendous job. And you work with Pro Football Focus, so you have access to a lot of data and numbers, and you kind of see things analytically, and you see things from maybe a different viewpoint than just kind of a general fan. And I'm super excited to have that part of it coming on. You're going to be doing kind of preview stories on like Thursdays or Fridays before a football game, some keys, some things to look at, what the numbers say in terms of what should happen in this game or where the key areas are. And then you'll recap that as you did this morning on a Monday with kind of some of the takeaways and what the numbers say and things like that. And me and Prater stole a lot of your numbers already from the story in the early part of the show. And we'll dive into some of that in a minute, but I guess I just want to say again, I haven't added a lot of people, man. So, I just thought this was the right fit. And I think you're, future star in terms of what you can do here in terms of your analysis and your data and something that this town doesn't really necessarily have. And you were doing a great job writing for 247 Sports and Bronco Country. And I apologize to them for stealing you away. And, but it just was the right fit. And we were able to do it, like I said, thanks to, people's subscriptions and interest. And we want to get more written content on the site. And so you're going to, be 2 to 3 stories a week and help supplement some of the stuff that Prater's doing and I'm doing. And like I said, you're going to bring it from a different perspective, more of the, the numbers and the analytics and things. And folks can go right now to BroncoNationNews.com and read your first column. But you are a Boise State alum. You are a, quote unquote Boise State fan. So I think you bring a unique perspective to this because I also think you're fair and you're honest about what you're seeing. So what's a little bit about your background just for folks to get to know you a little bit. And I know folks hopefully will go follow you on Twitter. I've put out the links and things like that. And you're going to become, like I said, you're a great follow on Twitter. And I think you're going to become more of a household name here, hopefully through BNN, and folks are going to realize what you bring to the table. But just introduce yourself to the show here and the fans and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as you alluded to, graduated from Boise State back in 2019, got my degree in quantitative economics and minored in applied math. So my history is in the math side of it. Ended up working for Boise State in the athletic department for a few years, which was a great opportunity, great experience, made some great connections there. And then, got a new day job now, but then on the side, I've been working for Pro Football Focus, doing some data charting for them. Essentially my role is they put me on a game each week and I just track who is on the field every play and what are they doing on that play. So if I'm working a Boise State game, it would be, all right, these are the 11 guys we've got on defense. Ahmed Hassanin's rushing the passer and Marion McCoy's dropping into coverage. Where are they lining up? Are they lining up at corner, in the slot? Are they lining up at safety? But so doing that with PFF, and then as you alluded to, did some writing with 247, and I think that's where you're able to see me and bring me on board. And so that's a little bit of my background. Obviously, yeah, Boise State fan, but try to be as fair and as critical as possible. I joked about it with you when I do my writing. My biggest thing is I just want to be right. I don't want to be, a cheerleader. I don't want to be a hater. I just want to try to find, all right, what is this team going to be? What's gone well? What's gone poorly? So, that's what I hope to be able to bring to BNN.
Yeah, no, super excited. Like I said, you mentioned your kind of data background, which really helps. I mean, you've developed your own kind of formula for Boise State's season record and things like that. And you've got a lot of other in-depth stuff that I think is going to be really cool for Boise State to tap into. The PFF thing is a huge deal, I think, with some of the numbers that you're able to bring. So it's going to be a preview and a review, like I said, a Friday and then a Monday for football until football season ends. Something kind of on maybe Wednesdays or midweek on the basketball team as well. And I know you're working on something kind of looking at their 3-1 start and kind of big picture with them and where they're at. Let's start football, though. Give us I mentioned we stole some of your numbers already. I don't know if you had a favorite number or favorite stat or trend or whatever, but just in general, thoughts on the football team and where they're at right now.
Yeah, the football team in general, I think, is obviously in a great spot, right? The number 1 ranked G5 program right now. Potentially, we'll see what the rankings do tomorrow, but potentially a shot at the bye and getting a chance to play in the Fiesta Bowl. But you're 9-1. You never complain about 9-1, especially when that one loss is a last-second field goal loss to the number 1 team in the country. Favorite stat from this last game, I wrote my article about the great, the good, and the ugly. I know typically it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, but when you win by 3 touchdowns, there's more good than bad. And the great thing about this team right now is the offense. Started the game with a 3-and-out, but after that 3-and-out, my favorite stat was that they gained 92.6% of possible yards the rest of the way, meaning that every time they got the ball, they were moving the ball down the field. Were obviously able to score 5 touchdowns. Had a fake field goal and then a missed field goal, so should have been able to tack on some extra points there. But that was my favorite stat of the game. This offense is just running at an efficiency that we haven't seen a Boise State offense run at since the Kellen Moore era. Ashton Jeanty, what he's bringing to this offense, what these receivers in particular as well are bringing to this offense. It's something that we haven't had around Boise State in a while. I saw Bill Connolly puts out his SP Plus numbers, which is one of the forefathers of advanced analytics in college football. He's got Boise State as the 9th ranked offense in the entire country right now. We haven't had a top 10 offense, like I said, since the Kellen Moore era. So this offense is just running at ridiculous efficiency right now. A little bit of a step back in that Nevada game, but outside of that Nevada game, you could pretty much just chalk up 40 points right away on the board. And, when you're scoring 40 points a game, it's really tough to beat that type of football team. Looking forwards, I think the big thing for this offense will just be getting healthy. I know there's some reports that we might get Roger Carey on back here in the near future. Would be a massive addition for this team. We've had some issues in the interior this season, particularly at center and right guard. We've gone through obviously Mason Randolph going down, and then one of the Steele brothers has gone down. We saw Tyler Kyneth go down this past week. So being able to get healthy, get right in the interior, I think could elevate what this offense could become. Because even though the offense has been really good the past few weeks, you remember back to Oregon, you remember back to Georgia Southern, the offense was even at another level because the offensive line was dominating. So, the offense right now is just they're on cruise control and they are just rolling teams, and it is really, really fun to watch.
Well, we will, whether it's Friday or whether we tape something for the pregame or maybe Saturday pregame, we'll talk about that. We're definitely going to get into some of the numbers and previews and things moving forward for the Wyoming game. This is more of kind of just a shorter kind of introductory one today, but I do want to get a thought on the basketball team as well. Saw the win against Clemson yesterday, 3-1 now on the season. I think they're at 36, I believe. At KenPom as we currently sit right now. I know the San Francisco loss was a tough one for some to take, but I know, as you said in one of your tweets or something, the Clemson win was better than the San Francisco loss was, I guess, or just explain kind of where that and kind of where you see this team being at right now.
Yeah, and I put out that tweet, and that's exactly what it is. If you could have come into the year guaranteed that we're 3-1, would we rather take a Clemson win and a San Francisco loss or a San Francisco win and a Clemson loss? The right answer there is you take the Clemson win and the San Francisco loss. Primary reason for that is that Clemson's an ACC opponent. We know that the ACC is a conference we're going to be battling with at the end of the year for at-large bids. And there's a world where maybe it is Clemson and Boise State that are fighting for one of those last first 4 spots, or maybe one of the last, in the field of 64 spots. And having that win over Clemson in the pocket is going to be massive. I think San Francisco, that loss is going to age well. They're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the WCC, and they have got a chance to be the number 2 team in the WCC. St. Mary's has some issues defensively right now. So San Francisco, that could end up being a tournament team for us. But a big reason why the Clemson win is better than the San Francisco loss is the way that the committee structures some of their analytics. They're much more forgiving of road losses, right? So being able to pick up a win at home is massive because you get the W in the win column. But their analytics they use are much more forgiving when you lose on the road, right? Just think to their quad system. If you're getting a quad one opponent, they have to be a top 30 in the net rankings team if you're at home. Meanwhile, they have to be top 75 on the road to qualify as a quad one opponent. So more than likely, that San Francisco game, I think, has a good chance of remaining a quad one game because it is on the road. Whereas that Clemson game, if we lose at home to Clemson, there's a good chance that that's a quad two game as the year goes on. So, all that being said, it was a huge win. Anytime you can beat a good ACC team by double digits and really control the game, you can't complain too much about it.
No, and I would say this, you mentioned, I know the Ken Palm numbers are not the net numbers. Obviously, they use the net ranking, and those don't always line up. But right now, I mean, San Francisco has already jumped 24 spots in the Ken Palm rankings since the season started, and San Francisco is now at 54. So, I mean, if you go top 75 or whatever it is, 54, I mean, right now, at least in Ken Palm, it would be considered a quad one loss. So, and the fact that I think early in the season they were willing to challenge themselves on the road, not a lot of teams are willing to do that. So just moving forward here, though, you look at the schedule for the basketball team. They should win this tournament down there in the Cayman Islands. They're the best team in the field. If you can get 3 wins, and I hate to say it too, but like the way you win too, and beating up some of these bad teams by a lot of points could help with the numbers and the metrics and all that. But if Boise State can win this tournament and then come back and you play Utah Tech, and I think in a semi-home game downtown Boise, I know Washington State's decent, but that should be, you would hope, a win also. I mean, there's a nice chance that Boise State is sitting there at 8-1 and on a 7-game winning streak here going into that St. Mary's game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and that's the biggest reason that Clemson game was so important. This non-conference schedule is not what it's been in past seasons. Really, you look at it and there's 4 major opportunities. It's the Clemson game, the San Francisco game, Washington State, which I'll touch on more in a moment, and then that St. Mary's game. So being able to get off to that 1-1 start in those big games is massively important. If you're 0-2, you're facing a real uphill battle, needing to knock off Washington State and St. Mary's just to have a chance at a not large bid down the road. With that Washington State game, that will be a tougher game, but Washington State loses a lot off of last year's team that made it to the second round. Head coach Kyle Smith leaves Washington State. They bring in a head coach from Eastern Washington. There was a lot of roster turnover. So that's a game that I think Boise State fans should be expecting to win, but it will be a tough game, no doubt. Washington State, obviously now in the WCC with all of the conference realignment. So we'll get to see what they look like against San Francisco and how that win ends up stacking up for us as the season goes on. But yeah, this midseason tournament that we've got next week, no doubt about it, we absolutely should win it. We open with Hampton, who's one of the bottom 20 teams, and Ken Palm will likely be 25-point favorites in that game. And then from there, you look at the other 7 teams in the bracket. None of those 7 teams are ones that are expecting to be at-large contenders. More than likely, I don't think any of those teams end up finishing top 100 in Ken Palm. So realistically, we want to go 3-0. And like you said, we want to make sure that we're doing it decisively. It's the reality of these metrics, right? They really reward winning decisively against bad teams. In some cases, it's better to beat a bad team by 40 than it is to beat an average team by 10. So look for not just Boise State to win this next week, but to win with some style points as well.
Yeah, and it is a bad beat because there were some better teams in this field. Rutgers was supposed to be in this field, and they have 2 of the top 5 fresh players in the country in terms of the rankings. Mississippi State, I believe it was, or was somebody else, another Power 5 team that was supposed to be in this field, and they backed out as well, and then they were kind of stuck at the last minute. So Boise State, I don't think from the start probably would have entered this tournament if these were the other 7 teams in it. It's just the way it worked out, but it is what it is, and they get a trip to the Cayman Islands and a chance to bond and get closer, and as you said, hopefully get through. I mean, there's still an opportunity for this to be a productive, yes, would you like to have a better quote-unquote win or a better opponent to play in this tournament? Sure, but if they go down there and win all these games decisively, they can still help their numbers and still make it a productive 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not going to be a week that you get the flashy win. That was Clemson. That's the win that when they put up your at-large resume, you see Clemson as your big win. We're not going to add any big wins. The goal is avoid bad losses and then do some of the nitty-gritty things, right? These 3 games will determine where we sit in KenPom, where we sit in the net, where we sit in some of these advanced metrics that the committee more and more is using and relying on. Especially you look back to last year, I think that's part of why the Mountain West got seeded so poorly, is even though a lot of their strength of record, their RPI stuff looked good, it was more of the advanced metrics that said the Mountain West might not be quite as good as it seems. So really, really big opportunity for Boise State. Need to take advantage, right? If we take any losses, it's going to kill some at-large hopes. And if we're only winning close, reality is the metrics aren't going to like it, even though, Leon and the team will like any win. The computers don't look at it that simply.
Yeah, and Hampton actually was up by 10, I believe, against Providence at halftime. Earlier this season, but ended up losing by 9. They've lost 3 in a row. They just lost to Norfolk State, who was 198 at KenPom the other day. They actually play UMBC tomorrow, so they have a chance to maybe get a win, be feeling a little better coming in. But that Hampton game in the first game of the tournament, Boise State, I think, is a 20-point projected winner at KenPom, and so that's kind of the number you're looking at. Nathan, really appreciate your time, man. Great stuff. It's going to be awesome having you on board. And as I said, I think you do a great job too. I wanted to let you give a plug for your podcast. You do a basketball BSU podcast, which is where I first really started thinking, you know what, like I need to talk to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And I'll just say it. I hope here in the near future, if we can make it work, I would love to eventually get your podcast over on the BNN channels as a separate weekly show here. I think we can probably make that happen at some point, but for right now, you're going to keep that and do your own thing. And we'll just have you kind of periodically come in on the show a couple of times a week for 15 minutes. But where can folks listen more to you in the podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast right now, you can find it. It's called the TBA, a Boise State basketball podcast. We've been workshopping names. New podcast will go up this morning. We recorded last night after the Clemson game, and then nice. My little one's sick, so I didn't get the chance to get it uploaded. But yeah, me and my buddy Nick, who's a basketball coach, Boise State alumni, and spent a lot of time in the Treasure Valley, just chop it up for an hour and talk ball. He's got a lot of experience doing NBA draft analysis, doing writing for some NBA pages. So, hopefully you guys enjoy it, but you can find that on Spotify, can find that on Apple Podcasts, and then be able to find my writing on BNN. You can follow me on Twitter or X, as I guess it's called now, at Nathan_26_. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Nathans out there, so had to get one of the wonkier names with some numbers in it. But yeah, it's where you can find me. As BJ said, expect 2 to 3 articles a week. We do a podcast every week, and then I tweet a lot as well.
Yeah, and you're a great follow on Twitter, man. You really are. So, and I would say that I knew this was going to work out well and it was going to be a good addition, but I couldn't have even imagined the responses, man. There's been a lot of people that follow you on Twitter that said, "Hey, great hire. Oh, he's awesome. He's great." So, I mean, you should feel proud, feel good, man, that folks are liking what you bring to the table. And like I said, I think it's a different angle than a lot of people here in town, and it's going to be a great compliment to everything going on at BNN. And so we put the one today free. It's in front of the paywall. Everybody can go check that out and see what you're going to kind of get a couple times a week from Nathan. But eventually that will go behind the paywall for paying subscribers. Probably 2 of the 3 a week, I would guess, will be behind the paywall. So folks are going to have to pony up here if you want to read Nathan. And we have the promo code right now, just BNN 50 deal gets you that $50 for a full year of coverage. You see the promo code at the bottom, BNN 50 deal. So hopefully you liked what you just heard from Nathan and you're going to jump on board with a subscription. And remember, a lot of you are set to renew here in the next couple of weeks. Just make sure your credit card info and everything is up to date. And we are doing that private jet trip for 2. And maybe we'll get you on the jet at some point, Nathan. We got to make that happen to one of these road games. We'll see if we can pull that off for a basketball.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain about that. I'd be on board.
We'll try for a basketball game to see what we can do. Folks, you need to be a paying subscriber to be eligible for the private jet trip. We're still working out which game it's going to be with our sponsors, but we'll have that for the 3rd year in a row, the VIP basketball experience back. But again, Nathan Carroll, part of the team now, and you can read him probably Wednesday at some point talking basketball, and then Friday we'll have a preview of the Wyoming game as well. So it's been great, man. The great, 13 hours or whatever since we announced it. We appreciate you for wanting to work with us and looking forward to seeing how we can grow this thing moving forward, man.
Yeah, thanks, BJ. Looking forward to it and excited to get rocking and rolling. One article down, hopefully a lot more to go.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
There he is, Nathan Carroll. We're just super pumped to have Nathan on board, man. He does a tremendous job. As I said, I think he's a diamond in the rough. I think he's just been quietly doing his thing, and not many people know about him or have seen him. And you listen to him, you read his stuff, he knows what he's talking about. So nice work to all you guys for your subscriptions and things and making this possible. And I want to continue to grow this and build this and see where it can go with him, because I think he's very talented with what he brings to the table here. So appreciate all you guys. We went an hour and a half on a Monday morning. A lot to talk about, a lot of things for Boise State going on in the books, and certainly, obviously, for good reason, too, with Boise State football, basketball, both rolling right now. I'm going to hurry down to the Spencer Danielson press conference. We'll stream that live on BNN coming up at noon. Spencer Danielson, Eric Chenander, and Dirk Cutter coming up at noon here on Bronco Nation News. So you got 90 minutes to go subscribe, BroncoNationNews.com. Use that promo code BNN50 deal to get 1 year for your first year for just $50. That's a $20 discount. If you can't afford the $50, we do have the $6.99 monthly option as well. But go subscribe, and at a minimum, I always say it at the end of the shows, but support the sponsors, many of which you see behind me. You just watched an hour and a half show for free on YouTube. So maybe a few pop-up ads, which I saw somebody complaining about, but it is what it is. And again, support the sponsors, keep these shows free. And if you can subscribe, we would really appreciate that, because, I'm not just pocketing all the money. I want to try to find people like Nathan that are good additions and worthy of being part of the team. And we want to continue to build this thing and grow it as we move forward here. So appreciate you guys. I'll be back with Jay Tust at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Again, we'll have the press conference coming up at noon, and then Jay and I tomorrow morning at 9. And then we'll have Riley and Rid tomorrow night. So a lot of evening shows coming up. Ball Talk, I believe, Wednesday. And we'll keep getting you ready for the football game on Saturday against Wyoming. And then the Cayman Islands Classic starting on Sunday, Boise State and Hampton. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We got the college football playoff rankings tomorrow night to talk about as well. And again, for all of our great sponsors, including Western Collective, our studio sponsor, our title sponsor, of course, rowpaint.com. Thanks to Andy Rowe for jumping on earlier today. Thanks for Mike Prater. And thanks again. Welcome to Nathan Carroll. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll have the stream going at noon for the press conference. We'll see you on social media, I'm sure. But then we'll talk to you at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Jay Tust. From the Western Collective Studios, for rowpaint.com, my name is BJ Rains. This has been Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com.